What's going on, my people? Good morning. Good morning. So we have a really powerful call for you guys here today. And I'm curious, have you ever walked out of a session or even gotten off a session because you're maybe not walking if you're on your computer and you thought about, well, what could I have done differently? How could I have coached like even more? Am I actually coaching them right? Could I have helped them more? If any of those thoughts have ever crossed your mind, then you are here on the right live stream. So welcome to Modern Leadership. I'm Mark, and this is my amazing, incredible co-host, also known as the person who coaches me every day, Teresa. And we help coaches when it comes to developing the confidence and skills they need to make more impact and income than they ever have. And today, we have an awesome, powerful, amazing guest who's going to be here with you. I will introduce her shortly, but I want to give you like a little idea of like what we're going to be talking about today, because we're not going to be teaching frameworks. We're not going to be giving you all the strategy when it comes to coaching. We're actually going to help you learn how to develop real confidence in your coaching, in your leading, in your helping people. And yes, we're going to talk about today and from the confines of being a coach. But this is actually something you can do with your kids. You can do with your significant others. You can do for the people that you lead when you get really good at asking questions and understanding which path to go down and which ones not to go down. So today we're actually giving you a quick sneak peek into what it would be like to be a part of our certification. Now, when I went through my certification, I didn't even realize what to expect. But once I got inside, I realized there was a lot of not only individual benefits of like learning how to coach, learning how to help people, but also there was a lot of practice, a lot of feedback, a lot of why would I go this direction? Why would I go that direction? And it really empowered me to develop confidence so that when I was coaching my clients, I can help them get results. But also when I was talking to people who could potentially be clients, it also helped me really achieve another level of confidence that when I was talking to them, I knew that I could help them and they could feel it on the call. That's what helped not only grow our business, helped word of mouth, like testimonials, people talking about us because we're able to help them. And that starts by doing what we're going to be doing today, where we're going to have an opportunity to coach one of the incredible coaches in our community and help show you what it would be like to, if you had the support that you needed, not only the skills, but also the support to be able to develop that confidence and your skills to a different level. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing real life coaching in the real world. So today, I would like to introduce you to Erin. Erin is a powerful coach, and she's also a member of our Modern Leadership team. Now, some of you guys have probably had communication with her if you've been following us for a while and you've been getting messages or things from us. A lot of times they're Erin, because she's also a powerful VA on top of being a powerful coach. Now, Erin has previously been certified for another program that I used to certify coaches in, and she's come back for a round 2 because she loves to have that deeper understanding of coaching, get into the room, do more practice, and being able to pull that into what she does really as a virtual assistant, which is just next level. And we'll let her talk about that in a minute. But one beautiful thing that I want to share here is that for this round, she's actually bringing her husband and her son in with her. So they're also going to be getting certified. So I do want to hit on that before we actually get past that, because that is so incredible. Actually, my son, who is 16, asked me, hey, can I do this? And I'm like, not quite yet. Maybe when you're about 18, that would be awesome. But like, it's a really great gift we can give kids. So Erin, first off, welcome to the show. It's great to see you. Like, I know I always see you behind the scenes, but it's great to see you in front of the scenes, my friend.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Now, I am curious, like, before we get into like the coaching and all that stuff, like, I'd love to hear, like, what is it that inspired you to actually get your family involved in being a part of the certification?
I am not one to gatekeep. And when the coaching that I learned changed not only the way I talk to other people, but the way I see myself and talk myself through things.
Yeah.
I knew they had to learn these tools too.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. And I kind of like talked about this a little bit earlier, but Erin is a extremely powerful virtual assistant. And we worked with a lot of virtual assistants and they're all great. But what happens when you have a virtual assistant who understands how to coach, how to get to the root of somebody's problem, how to ask them powerful questions? Like, I don't have to be the one in my messages doing that when Erin is in there doing that. So I really love this, because not only does it elevate what you do and how you can show up for your clients, but it's also something when you think about coaching, it can elevate anything that you're currently doing. right? I mean, I know that we have a person on the team who's like an accountant, and they take this whole idea of coaching so that not only can they help people with numbers, but they actually can help them with their money limiting beliefs that they would have at the end of an accounting tax season, right? And it's very similar to what Erin does, being able to inject this beautiful life coaching the people who pay her, right? Like, hey, like maybe here's a different strategy that we could do, and being able to lean in and coach them when they need it. It's like an amazing, not only VA, but a strategist that you get to have with you. So I want to share that just because Erin is such a powerhouse when it comes to that. But the combination does with coaching is next level. So thank you for leaning in and doing that, and just really separating yourself from everybody else.
Absolutely. It's what I love. So I'm just so fortunate that I get to combine the best of both worlds into this awesome thing.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Also makes you very sought after. So we got to make sure that that we pay attention to that. All right. So here's what we're going to do. So anybody who's been a part of the certification, and I know some of you guys are here. Lisa's here. Lisa's in the certification. What's going on, my friend? Some of you guys know that when we are going through this process of coaching and developing confidence, we do things a little bit slower in a session here than we would typically do if we were to coach somebody in the outside world. And the reason why is because when you are going through the session, when you're asking questions, when things are being brought up, I really like to share like what my thoughts are in terms of when I'm coaching somebody about not only the different angles that we could go down, but what is calling out to me in terms of like red flags of like, go down this area. This client is really going to need a breakthrough in this area. And I like to share some of those things as we go. So as we go through this process, we're going to be doing it a little slow. I'm going to be stopping. I'm going to be polling the audience. I'm going to be asking questions, and I'm going to be sharing like what's going on in my brain as we're going, because when you understand that, then you can take that into your sessions, and it kind of feels like you have like a little bit of a mark on your shoulder while you're going on there. A mark on your shoulder. I don't know. It didn't really sound well, but we're going to go with it. All right. So that being said, let's just jump in. So we're going to spend about 5 or 10 minutes here coaching. I'm going to be doing the most of the coaching right now. If you're in the program, you'll see that we primarily, Teresa and I, do most of the coaching in the beginning. And as we progress, the coaches that are in there take over and do a lot more of the coaching. But we like to start people off in the beginning so they can get an idea of like what to expect, right? So that being said, Cynthia's here. What's going on, Cynthia? All right. That being said, Erin, let's get started. So can you kind of like tell me about whether it's something that you'd like to chat about, something that you'd like some coaching on? I'd love to hear what's coming up for you today.
Yes. So as you know, my business is in growth mode right now. So it's not just me, I have a team now. And my team member is great at the things that I'm not so great at. So it's a beautiful blend. But I have this client roster full of dream clients. I'm really just so lucky that way. I love their missions and I love what they do for people. And I get so into it, in the flow, that I don't make time. I don't know if I'm forgetting or just shoving it aside, but I don't make the time to go in and grow my own business and find more of those dream clients.
Yep. I love it. All right. So let's go down this path real quick. All right. Now, I do want to take a little bit of a pause here because most people, and I'm curious, like for people who are in the audience, and Cynthia can't answer because she already knows the path that we would go down here. That's why, because we have certified her before. But when you get to this point where you're having a call with a client and they're telling you that, basically she says, I have these dream clients and I find that my time kind of like disappears into helping them and their mission. And before I know it, like I'm not doing anything to build my dream, my business, right? So what a lot of people will do here, and by the way, these are not wrong. However, I know as a coach that if I really want to help a client get a breakthrough, I need to go a few levels deeper and find out what's actually going on in here that is causing her to not put that extra time into her business so she can grow and find more dream clients, right? But a lot of coaches, a lot of mentors would be like, okay, what's your schedule look like? Let's do a time audit. Let me teach you the 80-20 rule. Let's figure out like what do you think? And what they do is they're trying to fix, and this is like a very key thing, they're trying to fix an adaptive problem with a technical solution, right? So while we're coaching, when somebody does present us with like information, one of the things that we talk a lot about inside of the certification is like, don't allow your clouded thoughts and judgments to impede on what you think the client should or shouldn't do, because you don't have enough information quite yet. So in a situation like this, what I would do with Erin, and we're going to do this in a second, is I'm going to ask her to think of a time when she had this situation come up, where it was a day that maybe she wanted to work her business and she lost track of time, and she was spending all the time in her clients' businesses, because I want to really be able to pull out like what's actually happening in that scenario, right, before I give any advice. So Erin, that being said, can you kind of share a situation that maybe you went through, maybe a time when this did happen with us, and what exactly happened?
Yes, it was yesterday, the last time this happened.
Okay.
So I do my schedule. I have myself pretty micro scheduled. The times that I do everything each day. And when it got time to work my business, which I had scheduled for first thing in the morning, I immediately just went to the next thing, because I felt like I was already starting the day behind.
What would you say what was that last thing you felt like? What?
Like I was starting the day behind.
Okay. So let's do this. All right. Let's go back to that time. All right. You said, because you said a couple things. Number one is you said that you intended on doing it in the morning, right?
Right.
Okay. So I want you to think back to the morning time. All right. It's the morning time. You intend on like taking action and doing those things in your business. What do you think it was that got you off track from doing it? Like, can you take me back to that moment where you were like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this instead.
Yes. So we've got kids home. It's summer. Everyone's sleeping in. And, sometimes that means mom sleeps in too. So I got a later start than I wanted.
Okay. So when you wake up, you got a later start, right? You still have an opportunity at that moment to decide to go in and take action in your business. What do you think, what do you think prevented you, or what do you think is the problem in that time for you to go in and start working your business instead of moving past it into the next thing? What was the problem with just starting your business?
It's funny. I didn't even really think about it. I just kind of went to the next client activity, or the first one of the day. It was just, oh, well, I'm getting a late start. This is going to have to wait. And I just shifted.
Okay. And so when you had this whole thought of, I'm getting a late start, I want you to think about, like, if you remember that moment when you woke up, like you noticed that, I don't know, did you oversleep, or what was the reason why you hadn't gotten up?
No, I didn't oversleep. I intended to get a little extra sleep.
Okay.
But then I kind of had a moment where I felt like I shouldn't have done that.
Okay. So guys, I'm going to put a pause on this for a second. And the reason why is because there's actually two very distinct things that I can coach in this specific area. Okay. And I'm actually going to make a little bit of a pivot, because I want to go back to the time that she decided to, that she was going to get that extra rest and extra sleep. I want to go back to that, because that feels like it's the linchpin that once she overcomes that, then she'll be able to step into like taking more quote unquote control of her time or her day. Or if she decides that she wants to sleep in, because by the way, guys, sleeping in is not the problem here. I just want to make sure I'm very clear on that, because you could sleep in, but you can adjust your schedule to make sure that you have time to work your business. So it's not that like sleeping in is the problem here. So I don't want to like pretend like that's the culprit, but we have two different spaces. We could coach her through like when she actually decided that she was going to like sleep in, and what that process kind of looked like. And then we can also coach her through now that, you had woken up and it was a different time frame, right? Now you had woken up and you had this thought of like, oh, I feel like I'm getting a late start. What happened the rest of the day, right? So those are two very distinct things that my brain says, okay, we can coach either of these. And I don't think there's a right or wrong place. But for me as a coach, because I've coached so many people, I like to go and get to the root of what's actually going on. All right. So Erin, can you take me back to the time when you had decided, I'm going to sleep in tomorrow, right? You're like, I'm going to sleep in. tell me like what was going on at that moment.
Okay. So what was going on was I was coming off of a 2.5 week vacation that was, I'm an introvert, and it was extremely people-y
Yep.
for the entire 2.5 weeks.
Mhm.
And then I came back and I took a little bit easy last week, which was the first week back.
Yep.
And I meant to do that, no regrets, but I just still felt a little bit of maybe an activity hangover,
Okay.
just because there was so much packed into that time. And
Okay.
I know that I have a lot of activities coming up this week.
Mm.
So it's just like one final
We're
push for
getting,
some
we're getting
rest.
some really great places.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. This is awesome. Okay. So I want you to think like the night before you decided that you were going to sleep in. I just kind of like want to hear like what to you, what was the problem with like not sleeping in, with being able to wake up just at the normal time that you normally do? Like what was the thing that popped into your mind when you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to sleep in? What do you think that was?
I think I just didn't feel ready. Didn't feel ready to face the day yet.
Okay. So I want to go back to this, and we're not teaching any frameworks today, but we have a framework to be able to guide people through. But I just want to verbalize it out loud and see where or show you the flow where your brain went. All right. So you just got back from vacation, and next day is going to be like a quote unquote work day, right? You had this thought of like, I just don't feel ready to face that day yet.
Right.
When you thought that, how do you think that made you feel?
I think that I felt a little bit overwhelmed.
Okay. So you felt overwhelmed.
Yes.
Now, in that moment when you felt overwhelmed, we know one of the actions you took is you set your alarm for later, correct?
Yes.
What were some other things that you were either doing? Let's just start out with that. What other things did you do in that moment when you felt overwhelmed?
In that moment, I think that was it. I just set the alarm for a later time and told myself, it's okay. You make your own schedule. You don't have anything going on in the morning.
What are some things you did not do in that moment?
I did not get up. I didn't get any real movement in to kind of wake my body and my mind up.
Okay. Did you plan out what the next day was going to look like if you slept in?
No, it was just shifting everything down a little bit.
Okay. Now, when you think about this, when you think about these actions, and we're going to talk to them in a minute, I'd love for you to think about like what you're actually creating in this situation, even before it's been created. Remember, this is happening the night before, right? So you just got back from vacation. You took it easy the week before, and you work the next day. And the thought that came into your mind was, I just don't feel ready to face the day yet, right?
Right.
And it could be any number of reasons why that's there, right? Whether you had a really great time, whether you're exhausted, whatever those things are, right? Those are additional like perspectives that are floating through our brain that kind of like empower this, I don't feel ready to face my day yet, to make it feel like it's real. Like it's real. I don't feel like I can face the day, right? But what happens is when we believe that, it creates an emotion or a feeling in our body. And the emotion you said it came up with was overwhelm. Now, when you felt overwhelmed, by the way, notice this is the night before. This is not the day of. You're already starting to feel this feeling, and it hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
And it's because that's the power of your brain. But when you feel overwhelmed, then you take these actions. You say you set your alarm for later. You say, it's okay, I make my own schedule. Kind of like just saying it's okay that you did this, right? Then you say you didn't get up early the next day. You didn't get any real movement in. And I know that for you, real movement, after that, it just fuels you to really crush your day, right?
Yes.
You didn't have an opportunity to do that. And you said, I did not plan out my day to figure out how to weave in all the things that I needed to do, right?
Right.
And so what happens, like, let me ask you, like, what do you think you manifest the next morning when you wake up?
I think that I manifest disorganization
Mm,
because I didn't plan it out the night before.
yeah.
I
So
knew what I was going to do, but not when.
yeah. Yeah. So let me share this with you. So the perspective that you said is I didn't feel ready to face the day. You manifested that you woke up in the morning and you weren't ready to face the day.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get your workout in. You didn't feel fueled. You didn't plan it out what it's going to look like. And here's the thing. This is where coaches will jump into, oh, what you have to do is you have to plan it out. You have to do all this stuff, but that's not really where the real change happens. The real change happens in the perspective in your brain. And when your brain is like, oh man, I don't feel like I'm ready to face the day, you go through this entire process because what you focus on grows. So here's the thing.
Got it.
I want you to go back to what you were saying earlier. I know you have this huge passion for helping other coaches and entrepreneurs get their message out in the world because you know the impact that coaching has done for people. I want you to think about, okay, it's still time. It's the nighttime. You just had this like vacation. You said it took you a while to get a little bit back into it. And the next day you have a plan to work. And instead you remind yourself of the impact that you make, not only in your business, but in other people's business. And you think about, you know what? It's been this long since I've been able to do this. I cannot wait to get up and to send these messages, to connect with people, because I know the impact that this is making in people's lives. Now, I know you kind of shared that a little earlier. You shared it like early, but when we tap into that as your perspective, because that's not me saying that, that's your language from earlier. I want you to think about if you had done that the night before. I want to think about like what would have come up for you like as an emotion in that moment.
That is really good insight. So that perspective shift of I have these messages to get out for these amazing coaches. I can't wait to get up and crush that for them, for us. And that makes me feel energized.
Okay. So it's nighttime. You feel energized, which I don't know if it's the best idea because you're not going to be sleeping. But in that moment when you're energized, what are some things that you do? You're like, I actually like, and we're not going to say like, oh my God, I can't wait to wake up at 3 a.m. Okay. So we're not saying that. What we're saying is that there's people out there that I get to serve on an entirely different level and I get to transform and help change their life. And that is me doing the hard things of waking up shows that I'm serious about this, but also I know my clients are too. And I'm serious about their message and putting their message out in the world because my synergy with them creating the message and me knowing how to get it out into front of more people and to get more people in front of them, get more like clients for them to coach. That's my specialty. And that's what their clients need. So when we think that, it doesn't make us feel like, oh my God, I'm so excited to wake up at 3 a.m., but it creates a different feeling in our body, right? And when you feel this level of like powerful, of unstoppable, of excited, right? Now we start taking action from a different emotion. So when you think about that, if you were to have this conversation with yourself in your head beforehand, what are some of the actions that you would take when you were feeling like powerful, in control, those things?
So with that in my head, I am going to plan out the next day, but I'm going to do it from a place of when can I show up as my best self for each client to get their message out. And that's from a much better energy.
Yep. Yeah, and we could spend a whole lot of time here in this space. And by the way, we are going to jump in a second to everybody in the chat because I would love to hear either while we were coaching, like what came up for you, or what direction would you go, or what would be a question that you would ask right now. So I'd love to hear in the chat right now, what would be a question that you would ask Erin right now? However, I do want to kind of like share the process that Erin just went through, because when you focus on the things that really matter, right? When you think about like the perspective shift that happened, think about all the cascading things that happen as a result of just focusing on what you want versus focusing on what you don't want. Inside of the certification, we talk about that. There's this thing called an unconscious affirmation, which is the perspective that our brain thinks on purpose. I used to think about this all the time. I used to be like, I'm so exhausted. What's crazy, guys, is if you say I'm so exhausted, think about how you feel after you say that. or even how you think, like after you think it. It gets you to feel exhausted and tired. The truth is, and I used to ask this, I like to ask this question all the time, is like, even if it's true, how does thinking it help you? So in this situation, she's like, I'm not ready to face the day yet. And it's like one of those situations where even if that were true, how is thinking that going to benefit you? And the answer is it isn't, because it's focused on what you don't want. It's focused on what's broken, wrong, or missing, like we teach, right? But when you focus on what you do want, the best of the past, the best of the present, and the future, you can transform in the moment, like so that they can see that it's not the action, even though we want to like take different actions, that's not the action for us to focus on. It's the perspective. It's the belief. It's the thoughts. Because here's the thing. I know Erin does this. She does it in our business. She wakes up on fire and she's like, Mark, 3 more people scheduled calls for you with you today. And I'm like, let's go, right? And it's coming from a really high energy state. And I know she does that for all of her clients, right? And when I know that's the case, is because I know that she's focusing on that perspective of, I'm here to serve and I'm going to crush it. But even coaches have human brains. And our human brain tries to get in the way, tries to keep us safe, tries to get us to live small. And I know for Erin, like she does have some spots for some other clients, but she can make even more of an impact when she finds those clients and she's able to do this kind of stuff with them, right? So connecting it to being able to show up for other people in their business, but also connecting it to how do I show up and do this more often for my business so that I can find those people and make more impact, especially because she has a team. It just totally transcends everything. But remember, we don't focus on the actions first. We focus on the belief. We coach the belief and the perspective. And when we can help them make that shift, all of the actions come to fruition, right? She's like, I would plan it out. I would do this. I would do that. This is what I would do, right? I would, and whatever that is, I didn't tell her that. She came up with that.
Yeah, she's the expert.
She is the expert, right? She's the expert in her own life and what's going to get her to be motivated and excited. Notice I didn't tell her what to think. I asked her questions to help her get to that route. And that's what we teach you guys inside of the certification, to get deeper into which path to go down. Now, we came out with this really quick checklist. I want to share this real quick because some of you guys are on our email list. We came out with this checklist to talk about like how best you can help your clients. What we just did with Erin is we actually did step number 1, which is focusing on, not directly, but we focused on the taking of action, okay? Because when it comes to like going through that process, when you are actually coaching somebody, if they're not taking the actions they want to take, or they're taking actions they don't want to take, that's the place to start. You don't start telling them about books to read, extra things to do. You don't talk to them about like their energy related to that thing. Like there's a very specific structure. So if you're following along in that worksheet, we only got to step 1, because when I heard the way that like what she was thinking the night before and what she had done or not done the day before, or the day of, that got me to realize, no, we're still in phase 1, and I'm going to stay in phase 1. I'm going to help her to get a breakthrough so that she can now use this to step into that next, the next time this happens, right? And what's beautiful is that when you help people in these things, it helps them actually be able to do this on themselves in bigger areas too, right? Because this is really ultimately focusing on the things you can control, which is the way you think, the way you talk, and the way you act.
Can I say a couple of things?
No, absolutely.
A couple notes here, because just it's amazing like what you can get when you're kind of like on the outside.
Yeah.
When someone's coaching someone else. But first off, I wanted to say that when Erin said about, she wanted to give herself some extra sleep, right? And I think anybody else who doesn't necessarily coach like this, and they are more like they go into mentorship mode, there could be kind of even a little bit of shame that comes in, because saying, oh, well, you can do this and you can like not sleep in and get up early because successful people do this, this, and this, and they hustle, right? So that's more of an extreme, but we take more of a compassionate approach, right? Because we understand that there's a lot deeper things going on, and that is just the surface level, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. She said, I intended to
Yep.
to wake up a little later, and that's fine because she needs to take care of herself too. Another thing is
Can I add to that, because it's so important? Like, as a coach, we at Modern Leadership, we call ourselves heart-led coaches. What you're going to find is, do you know the hardest person, the person that's going to be hardest on themselves is the person that you're coaching.
Yeah.
Because they are going to beat themselves up to no end. Typically, we wouldn't talk to another human like we talk to ourselves. And so when you have moments like that, as a coach on our team, you need to call them out to make sure that there's no shame, guilt, humiliation, anything like that. You're going to see there's other different modalities, and there's nothing wrong with it, that actually lean into that. Lean into the shame, guilt, humiliation, that kind of stuff as a challenge. And if that's how you're wired, that's awesome. But when I hear that kind of stuff, I want to make sure that Erin knows it's not the fact that she slept in, because that's not the issue here. If she decides to sleep in on purpose and then decides to take action of like, you know what, I am going to sleep in tomorrow because when I wake up, I'm going to have more energy than I've ever had. I need to make sure that because I have this thought and it makes me feel empowered, one of the actions that I'm going to take is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to plan out what my day is going to look like, because it's going to have to change. You see, that would have been an entirely different experience, but she still would have been able to sleep in. So don't be caught up on when your clients say those things. Don't not call out the elephant in the room. Call it out. Make them feel okay about that specific thing, because it's not that thing that's causing the issue. That's something on the outside, right? It's all the internal chatter that they have going on. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. And speaking of that, it's, you were working with her on the internal things, right? Because nothing had to change on the outside. And a lot of the stuff that we do, it's not about changing your external circumstances.
Yes.
It's about working internally and changing your perspective. And then that, once obviously there's going to be a lot of different things that you can change your perspective on. But once you start working on that and start, digging deeper internally, then you can actually influence external circumstances. So we kind of like work in that way. And also another thing is like, reinforcing the whole thing about, she said that she really cares about the people that she works with, and she's really invested in their dreams, but her dreams matter too. So just because we have this session doesn't mean everything's going to change for her, right? That's why we have multiple sessions with our clients, because that's also something that we can work on, right? Is like reinforcing that belief that she matters too, that her dreams matter too. And that can gradually help her kind of change, whether it's her schedule or the way that she thinks about how she works, so that she does have time to work on her business and she does have time to grow her business. Yep.
That is huge. And we're going to go to Lisa's comment here in a second, because it's very much related to this. And that is like, when you're coaching a client, like I tell my students that you should only complete one specific situation or issue that their person is being challenged with right now, but there's going to be 32 things that come up. They're going to be trying while you're trying to coach, they're going to be trying to get you off track in your own brain, in your client's brain, because like, we kind of like just want to fix all of that. And that's not how coaching works. Coaching works is you pick one thing, you go all the way to the end, you show them what it is they're creating, you show them a different path to be able to create something different. And that's where you end it. And when you get good at that, you start hearing some of those things like Teresa said, like Lisa said, right? And when you do, you're like, this is something we're going to be talking about next session. It's not let's have a 17-hour long workout, right? We don't do insanity 16 times in a row to get better results. We do it one time, right? And then we move on from day to day. And it's the same thing here. As you're coaching your clients, you don't solve all their problems in one day, because you're not actually solving their problems. You're just helping them get to the root of it and be able to reframe it. But you don't try and do that for all of the problems that come up. That's going to create overwhelm, not just for you, but for them too. So we take one, we focus on it, we go down that path, and then we end it. Like how I was talking about here about like, there's a couple different places we could coach. We could coach her on what happened the night before, which we found today is powerful because now it just transforms her whole day. Or you could coach her on in the morning when you wake up. Why did you skip over your business and go directly into like your client business? Like, why was that more important, right? We could have coached her in that too. And there's no right or wrong way to coach. I just know from personal experience, for me, I like to go back and really get to the root of what started it. But the next session, I might actually bring that up because Teresa brought it up too. And she's like, well, there must be something in there. It's like, like the impact that I'm making over here is like so important, and it is, but so is the impact that you're making in your business too, right? And so when you're able to like really unpack that, and maybe on the next session, that's really where now you're starting to peel back the layer of the onion, right? You're starting to get to all of the roots, and that's why coaching is so powerful and why it's not only one session. But that's why we teach in the process of like going through this is to take notes to make sure that maybe in the next session you can talk about that, right? So Lisa says, what's one thing you can do to protect your energy so that your introverted self isn't too drained to be able to show up as your best self? So that would be also coaching a different scenario in a different situation. And I would write that down. And I would say, okay, so Erin, her subconscious is calling out to me because it's saying, like, I'm an introvert and this is how like that situation made me feel. And I'm like, my energy was drained, right? So for me, anytime somebody says a label, like labels themselves, and by the way, I label myself an introvert too, so I'm no shame here, okay? But when you do that, it's just something to keep an eye on of like, okay, let's keep a pulse on this because this is something that could transfer into something later, right? Because like we said, even if it were true, how does thinking it benefit you? Right. And so even going back to that time could be another situation that we could go back to. We wouldn't want to do that in that specific session. We want to finish that a session. And then we would probably ask them one of the questions that Cynthia asked. Because now that we have this, right, now that Erin's been able to think about this and really transform the way that she's thinking about it, now we want her to buy into the results that are going to happen when she does this, right? So we get finished the session and maybe we'll ask some of these questions. So why is showing up in a good energy so important to you? And then the second question was, how would this perspective benefit you? So I want to go into this real quick, Erin, and that is like, now that you see this perspective change that we tap into, the power that you have to not only help clients, but to find more people so that you can go out and help them, because there's a lot of coaches out there like that really need your help, who really need like to get their message out there, and they can't do it all themselves because a lot of them are trying to, and they really, number one, don't know how to, but number two, their time is very limited, right? So when you think about that and you think about tapping into this perspective, how do you think is that not only going to benefit you, but how is it going to benefit the people that you serve?
These are great questions. So showing up in my best energy is important because I'm not just someone that checks off tasks, just checking the box. I put all of myself into my work, everything I do. So it does get a little bit exhausting as an introvert, but it's so rewarding too. And I know that I will be my most effective at sharing these powerful messages if I am in my best energy.
Yep. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, guys. Wow, we're already 8 minutes over. Can you believe that? Like coaching, when you're coaching, it like an hour goes by and you're like, what just happened to my life? Right? Because you're exploring, you're getting curious, right? Now I want to share a little bit of a different perspective for everybody who's watching here today. Okay. I want you to think about what would it feel like if you were in this level of environment every week, where sometimes you're Erin, where you're getting coached around something you need help with. Sometimes you're sitting in the back, asking questions, thinking about what direction you would go. And sometimes you're just going out there and having conversations with each other and being able to practice more often. Now, of course, we teach the skills that you need. Some of the skills that I talked about today, we actually go in and we dive in deep to show you how to walk somebody through that process. But it all starts out with just the foundations of coaching, like how to make sure that you set yourself and your client up for success by number one, like making sure that you stay out of the pool and do all of those, what we call clean thinking. And then we get into integration, like how do you integrate this into your coaching sessions? What questions to ask, which questions not to ask, what direction to go, what direction not to go. And then third is like mastery, is getting to the point where you've mastered this skill, and then we can teach you some other skills. But what do you think it would be like? What do you think your confidence level would be if you had this level of support, of feedback, of practice every week? I got to tell you, like, it changed the game for me forever, because I was a coach for a while. I was quote unquote coaching. Actually, I was really mentoring. But when I was in an environment like this where I could get feedback, where I can say, I would ask this question, and the instructor would be like, that's a great question, but not in this scenario. It helped me because it not only helped me develop more confidence, but it helped me take that confidence and actually help my clients get better results. And when they got better results, they started talking about it, and it really caught this wildfire effect, right? And that's what happens when you're in this level of environment. Now, we are actually closing the doors for the certification. It actually starts almost at July 12th. So this Saturday. If this is something you're interested in, whether you're just getting started as a coach, or you're like, you know what, I've been coaching, but I want to really understand how to help people on the next level, reach out to us, send us a message. Erin will probably be the person who responds. But if you send me an email, it'll definitely be me. Connect with us if you're interested in this, or you can even go to the wait list. You go to modernleadership.us/certification. Thank you, Kurt. Always on point, no matter how long we have here. He's like ready to go to push the button. I swear we have the best team ever. But go fill that out. I'll reach out to you and we'll be able to have a conversation. Now, before we go, Erin, somebody gets to the end of this and they're like, okay, I need somebody like Erin in my life. Like, I've been the one who's been trying to do all these things, trying to juggle all this. And maybe I love creating and I love coaching, but I don't love the reaching out. I don't love the social media, but I still want to do that in a way that makes me be able to attract and find more clients. How would somebody be able to like reach out to you and see how you two could work together?
Yes. So that is what I do. I love to take on those tasks to keep you in your zone of genius and make it as seamless as possible. So the best way to reach me is my email, VA, as in virtual assistant, at erinrouch.net.
Let me put that in the chat. Perfect. So if you're somebody you're a coach and you're looking for some help and you want to attract more clients and you want to be the person who doesn't do that, definitely hire Erin. That's exactly, I mean, she does so many different things for us, but that's definitely one thing that it's a huge weight lifted off of us and we don't have to do that. But she also does it from a place of she loves doing it.
Yes.
It's not I'm checking the box. It's like, I actually love doing this. So let me keep doing this, more of it. Right. But being able to do it for more people. So Erin, I appreciate you so much, friend. I know we talk a lot, but I just appreciate, number one, your willingness to always be coached, being able to see things a little bit differently, but then also your heart, because so much of what we have done here and grown, like in terms of modern leadership, has to do with you and being willing to lean in and to help out and to make pivots, right? We tend to make some pivots here. And I just appreciate you so much. So thank you for what you do out there, Coach.
Thank you so much. Right back at you.
Guys. All right. I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much for making it here to the end. If you have any inkling of learning how to really develop the confidence and skills you know, or that you need to know that you're going to be able to help your client through any situation, join us inside the certification. We are so excited to have you and get started this Saturday. All right, everybody, you have a fantastic week and we'll see you real soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.